What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. The NHL season is less than a month away, and with the Fanatics takeover happening this offseason, there's been a ton of jersey and logo changes around the league. Well, today I thought it would be fun to rank every single home jersey heading into the 2024 hockey season. Now, like I did last year, it's a very simple tier format. We have the best, the jersey that I think stands above all of the rest, A, B, C, D, and then the worst, the jersey that I think is complete garbage and needs a change up immediately. So if you guys have been enjoying the content lately and you want to follow along with the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button now to let you know whenever I post fun content like this, and let's get right into this one. Let's start this list off with the Ottawa Senators, a jersey that I think gets underrated from time to time. I love the colorway of red, gold, and black, and the font for these jerseys looks very sleek. I think this is the best version of the Ottawa Senators jerseys that I've ever seen, and personally I think it's a little bit underrated, so I'm going to put it in the slightly above average tier, which is B on this list. I think it deserves a bit more love, and I'm actually a pretty big fan of this one. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think it's slightly below the Ottawa Senators. It's a bit bland, feels like it's too similar to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I feel like the Leafs logo and just the overall design, it looks a little bit better than Tampa, and while I do like this Tampa jersey and I feel like it has a lot of history now with them winning some cups, I think it's just an average jersey at best, so I'm going to put this one in the C tier. A couple of their alternates to me look a little bit better, like the black one that they've been recently rocking. Next up, we got the Seattle Kraken. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this one. I think some people might have it in the A tier, but personally, I think just the way it looks overall, over time, I've found myself liking it a little bit less and less as each year goes. I really did like their Winter Classic jersey from last year. That one was insane to me, but this one, I do feel like it's on the same par as Ottawa. It's creative, it has some unique designs with the teal and navy colorway, and I think it belongs slightly above average in this same tier with the Sens. Next up, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this one, an instant classic for me. I'm putting it in the A tier. Ever since I was a kid, this was one of my favorite jerseys to watch on the ice, and some of you might be wondering, well, what's the difference between this one and the Lightning jersey? And there really isn't all that much, but I think history and just the logo makes this one stand out in comparison. Maybe it's a personal preference, but I think they have one of the cleaner jerseys in the league, so I'm going to put them in the A tier. Next up, New York Islanders. I'm also a very big fan of the Islanders home jerseys, and some of you might be saying, well, bring back the fisherman or whatever, but I actually like this logo and the current design that they're rocking. I think that the orange and blue complement each other very nicely, and with the latest additions of like Adidas and Fanatics just enhancing everything, I think that when they hit the ice, the Islanders have one of the better logos and jerseys in the game, so I'm going to put them in the A tier. I think that they deserve a lot of credit when it comes to their sweaters. Next up, Boston Bruins. They were rocking their Centennial jerseys last year, and this year they're going back to that sort of classic black and gold look. I think that this Bruins logo and jersey will stand the test of time. It's just so simple but so sleek, and it just screams Boston to me. I love their jerseys. Maybe it's because I'm a big fan of the organization, and maybe it's just because I grew up with them, but I think a lot of people agree with me on this. The Bruins have one of the better jerseys in the league, so I'm going to put them in the A tier. Next up, we got the Dallas Stars. Some of you might be mad at this, but I'm going to put them in the B tier. Something about their green look just continues to grow on me. While I do think their logo is kind of meh, like it's not super unique, I think when the Dallas Stars hit the ice with some of their alternate jerseys or even their home jerseys, they might have some of the best ones out there. Now, I'm not going to go too crazy and put them any higher than like the Senators or the Kraken, because I do think they're about on par with those, but I actually really like the look that Dallas has been rocking over the past couple of seasons, and I think that they belong in this B tier and deserve a little bit more credit. I've seen some people putting them in the D tier sometimes, or the worst tier, but I just don't think that's the place for them. I feel like it's a preference thing, so let me know, are you guys a fan of the current Dallas Stars look, or would you prefer them going back to that sort of black, green, and gold look they used to rock? Next up, the Pittsburgh Penguins, another one that I think belongs in the A tier. The Penguins, I think, again, it's like the Leafs, like the Bruins, they just will stand the test of time with their classic logo and jersey. I think this current one that they're rocking, especially during the Adidas era, might have been my favorite Penguins jersey ever, but I've seen the Fanatics one and I don't really see a difference between them and Adidas, so I'm expecting to love this one all the same. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins belong in the A tier. Classic players have always worn this, and maybe that's why it belongs up here, but this logo to me, it's just one of the best in hockey, and the colorway, it just works perfectly with it. Next up, we got the Edmonton Oilers, and I'm going to reserve my right to change my opinion if I find another team that may have a better home jersey, but I'm going to put them in the best for right now. this current rendition of the Edmonton Oilers jersey just looks so nice on the ice. And maybe it's because you see such spectacular players like McDavid and Draisaitl wearing it and making it look so gorgeous. I just love this look that they used to rock when like Wayne Gretzky was with them, over that like navy look they were using when Connor entered the league, or that orange one that they were rocking for a while. This is the one they got to stick with. I think this is the best jersey hands down for the Edmonton Oilers, and it may just land in the best spot. Maybe I'll bump it down to an A, but for right now I'll leave it in the best and see where things go. Next up, we got the St. Louis Blues. I'm going to put them in the B tier. I can kind of see why people really like this jersey. I've never been high on them, but overall, I think that it's pretty clean and the logo translates nice onto these sweaters. The blue, the gold, it kind of has that nice stripe pattern that they're usually rocking. And I do think that the Blues typically come out with some great alternate Winter Classic jerseys, so I'm pretty excited to see what they come out for this year's Winter Classic when they play the Blackhawks. But regardless, for their home jersey, I think it's nice and it's classic with some of its history behind it, so I'll put it in the B tier. I think it's about on par with some of these other jerseys in this category. Next up, we got the Anaheim Ducks. Now, this is their old logo, but their new one is just absolutely fantastic. I'm going to put the Anaheim Ducks new jersey in the B tier. While I do think it's an improvement, there is one thing that kind of makes me like this a little bit less, and that's the overall amount of orange that they use in some of their uniforms and just the jersey in general. On its own, the jersey is spectacular, but when I saw it on the ice, their away jerseys, I think especially, they just have the orange pants, the orange gloves. It just feels like a bit of an overkill, and I do still think that the original Mighty Ducks jerseys are just a little bit above this one, so I'll put it in a B tier. Maybe you guys want to bump it up to an A tier, but for right now, I just want to see how I feel about it after one long season. But overall, a pretty good changeover for the Anaheim Ducks. Next up, the Montreal Canadiens. Like the Toronto Maple Leafs, I feel like I would be doing it a disservice if I put it anywhere under the A tier. Classic logo, classic jersey, the red, white, and blue. It just looks amazing on the ice, and the more and more this jersey goes through time, the more and more it improves and just looks even more clean. So I'm going to leave it here in the A tier. I think it belongs with some of these other ones. Now that I'm looking at it, it feels like the Islanders one might be a little bit too high, so I might have to bump that down, but I think I'm going to stick with this take. But overall, Montreal, they have an A jersey for sure. Next up, we got the Detroit Red Wings, a jersey that I'm going to put in competition for the best. I just think that their general logo is just easily the best in the NHL, and I do really just like the simplicity of the red and white and how it looks on the ice. Like I was talking about with the Anaheim Ducks, they have too much orange, but for the Red Wings, I feel like the overkill on red makes it look even better. I will say I'm a little bit lower on them because I do think that the Red Wings have basically just had the same formula throughout their entire franchise's history, and maybe I'm just looking for a little bit of a change up for them, but I just personally think that the Edmonton Oilers have a slightly better jersey than them right now, so I'll put the Red Wings in the A tier, but I could see why a lot of people would have that as the best. Up next, the Calgary Flames. Easy one for me. This one's an A. I just love the way that this one translates onto the ice. Their logo to me is incredibly underrated. Their jerseys with the orange, the red, and the white combo, it just pops so nice when they hop onto the rink. I don't know. Maybe I'm overrating this one. I've seen a lot of people share the same opinion as me. Calgary Flames, they belong in the A tier. Some might argue the best. I don't think they're there, but A tier seems very solid for the Flames at this point. Next up, Minnesota Wild. Again, like the Calgary Flames, I'm just a big fan of this one. A lot of people don't like this, and I think it's maybe because they don't really recognize the logo at first, or maybe it's the forest green with the red that just doesn't blend well in some people's eyes. But for me, creatively, I think the Wild have one of the more unique jerseys in the NHL, and I just love that forest green look that they're rocking, especially the Adidas version. I hope that the Fanatics one kind of stands out just as much as that one, but to me, that Adidas one and the one that the Fanatics have shown me so far, I think that that's an easy A. I'm going to put it in the A tier. Next up, Colorado Avalanche, another... I don't know. I feel like I'm oversaturating the A tier, but I feel like they belong in the A tier too, man. That maroon, white, blue colorway when you're seeing Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen all flying up the ice in it. Come on, it just looks amazing. That logo, it's a beautiful logo. The way it sits on the sweater and the colors just blend together, I just think it's unique, it's perfect, and the Avalanche definitely belong in the A tier. Next up is the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm going to put them in the C tier. I did like the transition over from the gray to the gold jerseys. I do think it's an upgrade from their original ones, but I do feel like it's a bit of an overkill, and sometimes I just feel like it doesn't look right on the ice. Maybe it's the overall design of the jersey and less about the color. colorways. But regardless, I just think, like I was talking about with Seattle, it just feels like it's a little bit more like a creative jersey type of thing more than it is an NHL sweater. So I'm going to put it in the C tier. Maybe it's a bit low, maybe it's a bit high. I just feel like this one, it has mixed reactions, and I'm just on the side that maybe I'm not the biggest fan of it versus the people who actually really like it. So it's going to go in the C tier. Next up, we got the New Jersey Devils. This is one of those ones that I feel like is very similar to the Avalanche. When the logo is so nice, it's hard to not make a great sweater around it. And I feel like the New Jersey Devils went above and beyond when it comes to their design. I just love the patterns with the black, the white outline, and the logo. I just think that the red look is just such an easy cheat code for any team to design a jersey with. I also do feel like maybe this kind of tier is getting a little bit overcrowded, but I don't think I'll rearrange the Devils when it comes to moving some teams down because I've always just been a big fan of this one. So the Devils are going to land in A. We'll reassess the A tier afterwards though, and maybe bump a team or two down just so it's not too oversaturated. Next up, we got the Washington Capitals, and this one's easy to me. It's the worst in the league. When you have a brand new manufacturer in Fanatics taking over and you see some other teams rebranding like the Ducks and the Kings, this is your perfect opportunity to go back to some fan favorites like the Screaming Eagle. And when you choose not to and choose to hold on to this jersey because it's the one you wore during your cup run, it just seems a little bit silly to me. I don't even know if Washington Capital fans really even like this jersey at this point. I think unanimously we all can agree the Capitals have the worst jersey in the NHL currently, so that's where they're going to go. Next up, got the Carolina Hurricanes. To me, this one is a below average home jersey. The black one that they're currently rocking, while it does have some creative elements to it, and maybe I've given some other teams a few points for that, like Seattle or even Anaheim, I just have never been a big fan of the direction that Carolina has gone in when it comes to their logos and jerseys. I don't know, maybe it's a me thing, maybe other people like it, but I've always found them to be below average. I will say if the red one was their current home jersey, maybe I would bump them up to a C, but I'm pretty sure that the black ones are the ones that they're rocking right now, so they're a below average jersey to me, and they're going in the D tier. Next up, we got the San Jose Sharks. I'll put them in the B tier. I really do like the all teal look that they've gone with over the past couple of seasons, and while I do think that they maybe belong in the A tier, sort of on this fringe line, I think that they're the best jerseys in this B tier. They definitely stand out more and have more uniqueness than all of the other ones that I have in this tier, and I could see why some people would bump them up to A just because the logo itself is just such a beauty, but I think for right now I'm comfortable putting them in the B tier. Maybe I'll consider bumping them up, but I'm trying not to have too many oversaturated teams in that A tier, so we'll move a few around at the end, but I think I'm comfortable with the Sharks being in a B tier right now. Next up, we got the Buffalo Sabres. If we were talking about jersey sets, I might even consider them to be the best. Their current home jerseys are just so beautiful. I actually think I like them even over the goat head jerseys, which might be controversial. I just think the logo is super cool. The way that the gold and the blue looks on the ice, man, it just pops so well. I don't know what shade of blue they decided to choose, but man, did they pick the right one. Buffalo's an easy A for me. I'm keeping them here. I didn't really consider them for the best just for their home jersey, but they're a solid A on any list. Next up, we got the Nashville Predators. To me, this one feels like a C tier jersey. It's average. I do like the yellow and blue combo, but I've never been a big fan of their logo or how it looks on their jerseys. I will say I think that this is the best version of the Nashville Predators that I've ever seen. The Adidas and Fanatics version, the way that they've made that yellow kind of pop as compared to some of the ones from the Reebok era, it definitely is an upgrade from what it used to be, but still I think it's an average jersey in this league, so that's where I'm going to put it. Next up, Columbus Blue Jackets. I'll put them in the D tier with Carolina. I don't know, maybe it's the logo, maybe it's how dark the blue is, or just kind of the contrast of the colors or design of the jersey. Something about it just feels off, and maybe I feel like they could do a lot better with some of the other logos that they've had in the past. Their alternate jersey with the cannon is easily the best one the franchise has ever put out, and I feel like that would be a nice home jersey for this team if they decided to switch over. But their current home jersey, I'm just not a big fan of. I think that maybe they need to switch a few things up because it just feels a little bit old and boring at this point for Columbus. Next up, we got the Chicago Blackhawks, and this is the only one that I've been considering placing above the Edmonton Oilers. And like a lot of the other original 6 teams, I just feel like it has definitely stood through the test of time, and honestly is my favorite of the 6. I think I'm going to leave it as the best one just because I love how the colors in the logo really make the red pop, and the overall design of the jersey, it just continues to improve with every manufacturer that takes over for this jersey. So I'm going to put them in the best. I'll let you guys decide though. These were the 2 that I were debating as my favorite one for the upcoming season. season, but I think Chicago just has the slight edge. Next up, I got the Florida Panthers. This one's a pretty easy D to me. I really don't like this current edition, and even though they did just win the Stanley Cup with it, adding a little bit more value to the sweaters, I just have always preferred that kind of screaming Panther that they used to use, along with some of the color designs and jersey designs that they typically rock back in the early Adidas era, and then of course the Reebok era. I think that this one is a below average jersey right now. Feels more like a college sweater than anything else, so that's where I'm going to put it. Next up, Vancouver Canucks. This one is an A jersey to me. I love the skate jersey. I love their home jersey. I love kind of the gradient of blue, green, white that they rock, dude. It just looks so clean and is so unique. I really do think that this logo gets underrated, and it really looks nice on their sweaters. I also really love that they finally got rid of like the Vancouver wording that they used to have on the top. I think it just makes the sweater look a lot more well-rounded. So I'm going to place them in the A tier. Clearly we have some moving around that we have to do for this tier, but I think Vancouver is going to be the ones that I keep in this one. Next up, we got the New York Rangers. This is one that I actually considered placing in the best tier, but I do think it's just a notch below Chicago. Chicago has more color pop to it with the logo and just the way that the jersey's designed, whereas New York is more of that classic hockey fan look, the lettering down the center, the red, white, and blue, and I personally do think that they have the best looking jerseys when they do hit the ice. I think the gloves, the helmets, it all just combines and looks amazing. I'm going to leave New York in the A tier. They were a candidate for the best though, let me tell you that, but I think that they are just slightly below Chicago. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Flyers. This one is a B tier jersey to me. I really like the orange. I really like the way that the newer jerseys are designed, kind of throwing it back to the older days, but still, I don't think that it fits in the same tier as some of the elite ones that I put in the A tier. I really like Philadelphia. I like where they're going, and I think that their jerseys are going to be timeless, but sort of like Detroit, they really don't change things up all that much. They've sort of been rocking the same style for a while now, so Philly, they're a notch below some of those teams, but they still have some pretty nice jerseys. Next up, we got the LA Kings, and if they were currently rocking the ones that they had last season, I would put them in this tier, but with them rebranding like the Anaheim Ducks, I'm going to bump them up to the B tier. I don't think that they're on the same class as some of the logos and jerseys that are in this tier, but I do think that it's a huge upgrade just like the Ducks, and that they made the right decision here. With Fanatics taking over, they decided to go back to sort of that look they had when Gretzky was on the team, and I feel like this was the perfect decision for the organization, moving on from that chapter that they had back in like the 2012-2014 season when they won the Cup. So good on you, Kings. You're moving up to the B tier with some of these other classic jerseys. Next up, we got the Winnipeg Jets. I'm going to put their current home jerseys in the C tier. Personally, I think that Winnipeg needs to go back to the jerseys that they wore when they had Teemu Selanne on the team. That bright blue with the white and the Heritage Classic logo that they've dabbled with a little bit. That to me is the perfect uniform for Winnipeg, and that would be easily an A tier jersey for me, flirting with the best. But for right now, their current home jerseys, they're not bad, but they're not great. They're just average, and I think that this is a good spot to put them at this point. And last but not least, we have the newest NHL franchise in the Utah Hockey Club. I don't know. I think I'm going to put them in the D tier just because I feel like they easily could have picked a team name and gone with something like the Yeti with this colorway. I do personally think that the black with like that light blue, it looks amazing, and they should stick with this when they finally get a logo, but I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed with them picking the Utah Hockey Club for their first season, and I just think it's pretty generic when you take a peek at it. So it's not as bad as the Capitals, though. So if you're a Utah fan, there is a bright side here, but I'm still waiting to see what they actually come out with when they pick a team name and jersey. So it's a little bit below average right now just because it's super basic. But this is my NHL jersey tier list. I do want to make a few changes because I felt like the A tier was just a little bit oversaturated. So I'm kind of rearranging this right now to put some of the best teams up here and then kind of seeing which ones stand out. I do think that maybe Colorado needs to be bumped down one just because it doesn't stand here, as well as the Islanders and Minnesota. I do think Minnesota is slightly better than Vancouver though, so I think maybe I'm going to do it like that. I think that this is the way that I'm going to look at it. I don't know. Ooh, Vancouver's going to stay up. I really like Vancouver's. This is kind of what I think I'm going to settle with. I think that this is kind of the upper echelon jerseys for me, respecting the original sixes while having some newer ones that just have some really clean jerseys. These are sort of like the innovative ones that have some great designs, but they're not my favorite. Then the average jerseys, the below average jerseys, and then the worst. I think I'm pretty happy with this rendition of my list, but let me know what you guys think. Who would you move up? Who would you move down? Who would you have in the best tier? Who's in the worst tier? Drop all of your thoughts in the comments below. As always, always, thank you guys for watching this video and supporting the channel. Make sure you like this one and subscribe for more content like this. I'll see you guys in the next one.